The government is set to thrash out its position on public funding for a marriage plebiscite. If you're struggling to be the loudest voice in a screaming match, there's one thing that can make all the difference. Money. Don't believe me? Just ask Kevin Rudd what he thinks of the mining tax. Given this fact, we probably should have foreseen the latest roadblock to the same-sex marriage plebiscite. A petty debate about who's going to pay. The plebiscite is already expected to cost about $160 million and has given Labour ammunition to oppose the poll. Over the weekend, it emerged Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull may have promised an extra $10 million for each side of the debate to help them argue their rival cases. Mr. Turnbull has denied he guaranteed funding and that he only said if money was provided, it would be equal between the yes and no case, regardless of who's telling the truth. What's less easy to understand is why this money is actually needed. As longtime marriage equality supporter Warren Ench told ABC Radio, "There's been that much lobbying. There's been that much pushing on this. You'd have to be living on another planet not to already have your own opinion on this." Mr. Ench pointed out that many people have already made up their minds on the issue and opinion. Polls have consistently shown about 2/3 of Australians support same-sex marriage. Instead of spending millions on expensive ad campaigns, Mr. Ench has suggested the Electoral Commission could instead provide fact sheets on the yes and no cases that laid out factual information without any emotional rhetoric. Related, Labour introduces same-sex marriage bill. But there's been outrage from Liberal backbencher Erica Betts, who is opposed to same-sex marriage, at the idea the government may not fund the debate. This idea that you can have a proper plebiscite without funding for the yes and no cases would not be the sort of plebiscite that was envisaged by the party room. He told ABC Radio, "This point would be more compelling if either side was actually short of potential sponsors. In reality, the no case is likely to be bankrolled by churches, which already enjoy tax-free status in Australia, and the yes case can rely on groups such as Get Up, unions and others." Australian Christian lobby boss Lyle Shelton tried to explain the need for funding by tweeting, "We can't let foreign donations buy our vote, like Ireland's," referring to the Irish referendum that ultimately allowed same-sex marriage. But no one is saying that either side won't be able to put extra money into their campaigns by providing each side $10 million to put their cases. All the government is doing is creating a base level of funding. Other money will inevitably be tacked on top. And let's be real, what this money will be used for: scare campaigns. Does the idea of even more taxpayer-funded attack ads on the back of one of Australia's longest election campaigns leave anyone else feeling cold? The reality is, all these millions will be spent on the debate, and the result won't even be binding. It's hard to see the funding as anything but a massive waste of taxpayer money, thrust into the global spotlight after the tragic death of her wife Kate and then discriminated against by hospital and funeral home staff. Charlene Strong decided to take a stand that forced a rethink in the US about marriage equality. News.com. Our privacy policy includes important information about our collection, use and disclosure of your personal information, including to provide you with targeted content and advertising based on your online activities. It explains that if you do not provide us with information we have requested from you, we may not be able to provide you with the goods and services you require. It also explains how you can access or seek correction of your personal information, how you can complain about a breach of the Australian privacy principles, and how we will deal with a complaint of that nature.